For the umpteenth time, Nigeria's Police Inspector General Alkali Baba Usman has dismissed the travel advisories issued by the US, the UK, and some Western countries to their citizens on elevated terror threat in Abuja as fake news. He appeals to the Nigerian media not to transmit such news stories, describing them as inciting, fake, and demeaning. The Inspector General's Police was speaking at the inauguration of modern police stations in Delta and Edo states in continuation of his infrastructure and capacity building drive to motivate personnel towards effective policing. However, activities in Abuja, the country's capital, yesterday witnessed a low turnout, despite the appeal by President Muhammadu Buhari urging Nigerians not to panic over the recent travel advisory issued by the United States and the United Kingdom, warning their citizens to stay clear of Nigeria's federal capital territory because of the risk of terrorist attack. Joining us now from our Abuja studio to discuss the terror alert is Dr. Sam Amadi, Arise News analyst. Good morning, Sam Amadi. Okay, let's start with this.
Thank you. Good morning, Ruben.
Good morning. Let's start with this terror alert. What do you make of it? The missed messaging from the federal government, the propriety of the terror alert, and the president telling us not to panic. But some people refused to go to church yesterday. They prefer to stay at home, given the antecedents in that regard. But the people who still go to clubs and pepper soup joints, and those ones we understand are still very active in their various hunts. But generally, what do you think of this?
Well, first, I think the president's statement in context is a good one because, look, you just know president should tell his people to panic and say, you know what, foreign missions have alerted us about terror attack, therefore you don't need to fear, you need to be afraid, really afraid, no. So the president says, look, yes, we have challenges, and of course, globally have challenges, an excuse for ourselves, of course, as usual. But again, I think the key point there is, look, to say, don't panic. The military, the security officers are on it. One evidence is, according to the president, none of the international regional bodies have closed their shop. The UN is still on here. The World Bank is still on here. And so, in his view, that lends credence to the fact that they can still trust the security capability of the Nigerian state to protect its citizens and maybe minimize any impact of any proposed attack. I think that's the way the president should look at it. But again, the problem is dissonance. You know, when official communications, as positive as they are, run into crisis of confidence, run into contradictions. So, first question the citizens will ask themselves is, if you are this powerful, you can protect us, why didn't you be the one? Why are you not the one who alerted us about this threat? Why not the one? Why didn't you start combing the city, taking out suspected terrorists or sleepers who are waiting for instruction? And now, just after the US and the UK alert, we've seen heightened security and policing activity in the city. So it really means that, look, we don't need to trust you. That's one. Two, and when you hear public officers, chief police officer himself, the IG, talk in terms of, as if he's angry or dismissing credible sources, because it's credible. If it's not credible, the government could have arrested about 5 commanders of ISWAP, Boko Haram, and 30 foot soldiers in the FCT in the last even 3 days after that signal. That speaks to the credibility of that alert. And I think Abuja residents, of course, know better what to trust and what to do. And you see that, of course, in the sense that schools have, private schools have shut down to 1 week. My own children's school just wrote to us 2 days ago, say schools will be closed for about 1 or 2 weeks, advise students to stay at home and read and prepare. Malls shutting down. Yesterday in the church, I also was in church myself, and the presbyter or the pastor started by saying, let's pray that our people are not petrified and paralyzed by fear so that they can come to church. So we saw some kind of initial low turnout, and then people are no longer free to go to malls easily. So clearly, that's a palpable fear. And it's not managed by asking people to disregard the alert, but managed by providing physical presence, providing some kind of reassurance, and speaking in a much more coherent way, and backing it up with evidence of work being done, busting these things, and after 1 or 2 weeks and nothing happens, then the people have more confidence in the president and his team. That's what happens. So communication has to be coherent, realistic, and reassuring, not just putting down what is now credible security alert from the foreign missions. And they walk their talk. They have started living. We saw at Transcorp a few days ago that you see mass movement out of the country. It's not good for us. I mean, we can argue that the way manner is being presented might lead to some run on businesses and investment, but essentially they are right in their fears, and the citizens are responding according to those threats a lot.
Is the backtrack any better for us as a nation?
Sorry, is it?
Is the backtrack now by the government and the IG any better for us as a nation?
It's not better. Look, I think that first, the government has mismanaged both the kinetic side as well as the public communication side of this. Okay, we saw with Abuja the Kuje prison attack. When that happened, we didn't see a sense of rebuilding public trust in government is critical to fighting corruption, fighting security. Not just, we saw from the US, for example, during the 9/11 attack and the months and years after. At a point, there's a way in which public communication becomes a tool for managing terror. First, people need to be socialized to understand the moment we're in and to trust government. Now, if government starts now saying, oh, go about their business, when really they are the ones who panicked first by first going after these people and suddenly closing down an estate, and then we never heard that government arrested 20, 30 people connected with terror in one full swap. But then we heard that government has arrested 30 of these terrorists. So if you have done that, you agreed that, look, the terror alert moved you to take some kind of unusual action. It'd be wrong to say citizens don't take action. But what I think is, look, government has a right to always reassure citizens that, look, it can protect them. But government should not, the line of attacking the informant, killing the source, is not the point. It's about showcasing now that capacity to protect us, to admit that, look, yes, we have this intel, we're working on it, this is a success we've made. In fact, by now, there should be daily briefing by the equivalent of whether from the Defense Department or the police, telling Nigerians what's going on, how they are succeeding, and the fact that they're closing down on these people and the threat is diminishing. And like they do in the US, they give you red, they give you amber, they give you yellow, they give you different threat levels. And what they are doing is that they are winning the confidence of citizens, because if something happens when they give you the greatest threat signal, that look, the threat is highest, then you will say, yes, government really said the threat was highest. And people will accord themselves to be better. People will start doing those things that Americans say we should do. Avoid, places of mass gathering if it's not necessary. Avoid maybe some malls if you don't need to buy essentials. Those things are the right advice to citizens. So this sense that government feels always that it has to show its strength by saying, don't mind, we're in charge. It's actually weakness. The real strength is to make sure that nothing happens by telling our citizens to hunker down, to withdraw, to hide when there's need. So I think that's a miscommunication, and that's what I think about the focus on governmentality. It's about hierarchy, it's about power. We just can't say, look, we're in trouble. It's governance, it's about effects, it's about network, it's about intelligence. You tell people, look, we suspect that there's going to be some attack in this area. We advise our people to watch out, be vigilant, like the president says, but you can stay more at home. We can even advise schools to, in the interim, in the 3 days we're going to do these operations, shut down in these 3 days, so that, because if there's a terror attack and a community, 10, 20 people die, maybe in a mall, God forbid, that is a major attack on the foundation of confidence in government next time. So what should be upmost in the mind of government is that this never crystallizes, that no person is killed because of this terror, there's no suicide bomb or no attack on any of the facilities, not just to prove that we are strong, not just to disprove the Americans or the British, but simply to work around the clock and ensure, but next time it didn't happen. citizens will have more confidence. So next time you give alert, they will have confidence government can head off the crisis. But if you are busy talking down on the alert and the credible source of information without building citizens' confidence and without working to prevent crystallization, then you are hurting government capacity, trust in government, and you are hurting citizens. So I think really that government approach is wrong. It's basically more about governmentality, bolster the image of government. Don't mind these Americans. They're just talking to us. We are strong. No, what government should do is even be the one telling citizens, this is the level of threat we are seeing. We advise is this these numbers. Every morning they come and advise us and say, this place is more dangerous. Like America, I received the U.S. security reports about danger points across Nigeria. Now, those things help you to plan well and help to minimize casualties and therefore improve perception of security. If you bolster your image and talk like a swashbuckling warmonger, end of the day, you have those casualties, you have hundreds of people leaving their communities in Kikebi, you have places ransacked, you have 100 people maybe killed. You are not building confidence in government. You are weakening confidence in government. But you build it when none of those things happen, even though you admit that there's a threat. That's a more credible government communication that restores confidence in government and improves citizens' security.
Okay, I mean, maybe you are not the right person to ask the question, but two things. There's a show of strength on the streets of Abuja and the Federal Capital Territory generally. But the various security alerts did not say it's only Abuja FCT that could be affected. We haven't seen a similar show of strength or protection on the streets of Lagos or Kano or Port Harcourt. That's one part of it. But the main question I wanted to ask you is that the president has summoned an emergency national security meeting today. What are your expectations? The usual press briefing that, oh, don't go about your normal business, don't panic, or we are on top of the situation, or the president has directed the security chiefs to bring an end to any security threat with immediate effect. What are your expectations?
Well, I think Dr. Ruben Amadi, it's better at this point. We have the inclination to help the government achieve its purpose, but oftentimes history teaches us, a rude awakening. We've seen these meetings before. Like you rightly pointed out, it ends up with government has directed. And now I can tell you here in Abuja or anywhere across the country, there's not much expectation on breaking news after this meeting. People are not going to tune in and say, let's watch what Mr. President is going to say, because what the President will say seem to be, routine and prosaic. Basically, I've directed, we have to do something, we've got a direction, 90 days to deal with the flood. We're not yet seeing any policy direction or anything coming new. We've seen nothing. We saw a directive to release people in Abuja train victims. It took days and months before, after transactions, a few of them, and finally everybody got off. The point is that I think that the government is overwhelmed, no doubt about that. And when the government is overwhelmed, either because there are no capability to draw up fresh ideas on managing the crisis, or there's not even a strong political will. Oftentimes government can just drag on. People in government know that they can't solve the problem, or don't even have enough invested, they have no skin in the game to really solve this problem or take actions that are going to be drastic. For example, people argue, the Nigerian security came out that the intelligence that the U.S. talked about the terror, that they knew. Now, they went straight. They said they didn't collaborate with American soldiers to arrest those people. The question people ask themselves that it means that you had the capacity to make those arrests. It means that they had intelligence to make those arrests. So why didn't you commence that operation before the American whistle blowing or the UK and American whistle blowing? So then that raises issue as to, is there some level of either complicity, diffidence at best, or gross generalized incompetence at the level of government? So citizens now are no longer, have taken back their confidence in government. They are doing self-help at a massive scale. So people are leaving town. Yesterday, while I was on Saturday, when I was at Transcorp here, I got text message from people who said, Sam, look, we are not prepared to lose you. I advise you, very important people, a former chief executive of a big hotel in Abuja who has relocated out. Say, Sam, move away from your family yourself, come back after 2 weeks. So if people can conceptualize this idea of run away for a security alert in the city, it means that they're really not expecting government to help them. So they are taking self-measures, either they stay back home, reduce their exposure to any possible threat, or they exit city for some time or forever. So the point is that this meeting, citizens are not tuned in to get any breaking news or any hope raiser. But government still has work to do. So we hope that by the end of the day, this meeting translates to some strategic activities that will not just deal with the terror threat, but will build up government capacity to be proactive in the future. We're going to live in a modern world today, not just Nigeria, all over the world, like the President said. We're going to live battling with pathogens, with non-state actors, insurgents, criminals that of sophisticated capability. Because of the data world, because of the open borders, because of all the sophistication in communication, including warfare, small bomb, all explosives, we're going to be dealing with risk at very high level. So you want to see a government that is prepared to preempt, to understand the mutations of these risk factors and capable of doing two things. One, effective in kinetic actions, but also very effective in mobilizing social support, changing community behavior, and preparing community to support government in fighting terror. We are seeing that link between governance and security, and it's critical. Anywhere it has worked, whether in the US, whether in Israel, or whether in the Middle East, you have to factor the community component, the sense that the citizens themselves authorize government, trust government, and work together with government to really protect themselves. And it's no longer something of routine meetings, and it's now a high intellect work, it's now high capacity for execution and project management. Not just when the terror is about to crystallize, but before terror builds up. How come these cells are here? This is a terror now. People are now aware that it's possible that their next door neighbor is a sleeper waiting to be activated. So we have now seen the kind of Al-Qaeda franchise where these terrorists live among us, not take their time, build up intelligence, prepare, and take opportunistic strike that could be deadly. That with our level of lack of intelligence, with the disconnection between community and government, it becomes riskier that no matter what they do in Villa, it may not translate to helping citizens become part of a strategic approach to terror. That's really the crisis here. And so that talk might really translate to routine. We have decided, we are aware, and we have directed. But let's watch. Hopefully, the government will do better this time.
All right, we'd like to say a very big thank you to you, Dr. Sam Amadi, for your time on this.